Okay, good morning. Today we are doing PO54. So this is a power objective. PO54, I can graph an equation in slope-intercept form. So what is the slope-intercept form that we talked about in the last objective? Remembers what the equation looks like. What is our slope-intercept form, Maddie?
Ax plus by equals c.
Good. So now that's the equation that we talked about yesterday. Now we're going to change that around a little bit. So we had the equation was ax plus by equals c. Now, so I said it wrong. The equation, ax plus by equals c, we're going to turn that into slope-intercept form. So this is important. We're still going to have those x and y's in there. But now we're going to have an m, and we're going to learn what that m is. So instead of ax plus by equals c, we are going to do y equals mx plus b. Yep. So this is an important thing to know. This is a power standard. You will use y equals mx plus b all the time. In the future, you will use that in math class. When I'm sitting at home and I'm trying to figure out my yard and my garden, and I don't use that. But you will use it in future math classes and possibly in a future career path. So it is important to know because we never know how our paths in life change. But
My brother and my dad, they're pretty math people.
Yep.
They're always bugging me about if I'm doing this. Yeah.
Yay! You get to go home today and say, I learned y equals mx plus b.
Really?
Kaylin.
When I was struggling finding the rule for when we would sprout the life, my dad told me this equation.
Yeah. So this equation, people talk about it. People at home, parents know about it. Siblings know about it. It is a big deal. Big deal. That's why I'm starring it again. You need to know y equals mx plus b is our slope-intercept form. So the x is the x value of any ordered pair on the line. So if that's what the x is, what's the y? Yeah, the y value of any ordered pair on the line. So now we have an m and a b. The m stands for our slope. So that slope that we worked on in the last unit, coming back, we're going to be working with the slope again. Dominic and Rowan, I need you paying attention. This is a power objective. It is important to understand it because everything builds on this. The b, who remembers what the b is from yesterday's equation? The y, nope. The y-intercept. So we learned about that y-intercept in our last two objectives, right? We learned about the slope in the last unit. We know the x and the y values. We're just putting them all together. So it's stuff that we've already learned, putting it together in the slope-intercept form. So there are 3 steps we want to follow in graphing an equation in slope-intercept form. First thing is you're going to plot the y-intercept. And we look at it this way. It's where you begin. So remember that it's That's why it's the B. Because begin, right? So we begin with that y-intercept. So if we know y equals mx plus b, that b is our y-intercept. So we know that the x is 0 and the y is that number. Lucas? The second thing we do after we plot our y-intercept is we use the slope to get a second point. It's how you move. That's why it's the M. So the M is moving, that's our slope, how our line moves across that ordered plane, the coordinate plane. So B is the y-intercept, we plot that right on the y-axis. The M is our slope, we use that to plot another point. So then 3, any guesses on what that third step is going to be? If we are graphing an equation in slope-intercept form, and now I have 2 points on my coordinate plane, what am I going to do, Kyle?
You graph it?
Yeah.
Why?
So how do I graph the line? I have 2 points. I'm going to connect the points with a line. So I have to connect them. So that's our 3 steps. You graph your y-intercept, you use the slope to find another point, and then you connect them with a line. So in a negative slope, only one of the parts, the numerator or the denominator, is negative. Typically, the sign is put with the numerator so that we stay consistent in having a positive denominator and moving to the right. So this is what we practiced when we were working with the slope the last unit. That negative sign was up on the top, so we go left to right as we're making our graph. So here's where x and y come in. If graphed correctly, any point on the line will work in the equation. Plug one in and check. So let me scroll up so we can do that. So if we have y equals 2x minus 3, we need to identify the slope, the y-intercept, and then we're going to graph it. So what would my y-intercept be if y equals 2x minus 3? What do you think that y-intercept is? Remembering what the y, the x, the m, and the b stand for. What do you think, James?
3.
Nope. Kaylin? That's part of it. Remember when we talked about y-intercept and x-intercept? So if it's the y-intercept, where does that 0 have to be? The 0 has to be with the x, and then a negative 3. So you have to write it as an ordered pair, so we know how to graph it. So we know, so when James said 3, he forgot that it was minus 3, and that minus makes it a negative. Okay. And when we write the y-intercept, we write it as the ordered pair. 0 for the x, negative 3 for the y. What is our slope? Claire?
32.
Rise over run. So 2 over, it's a positive 2. No, because 2 over 0 would be 0. Not 2. 2 over what gives me a 2 when I simplify it? 4. No, 2 over 4 would be a
No,
half.
over 1.
2 over 1. So we always want to write that slope as a fraction. If we're given a whole number, you put it over 1. Because this will be important when we're moving across our coordinate plane. So now I have to graph it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to begin with the b with the y-intercept. So 0, -3. Now I'm going to do my slope. How do I use my slope to find my next order pair, Peyton? Owen?
Would it be go up 2 and then over 1?
Yeah, it's a positive 2 over 1, so I go up 2 over 1. And now I connect it with my line. And I just graphed my first y-intercept. Slope-intercept.
This doesn't really make sense.
That's why we're going to do it again and again. So it starts to sink in. Let's look at our next one. What is our y-intercept? For y equals -3/4 x plus 1. What is the y-intercept? Lucas.
Well, the x equals 0, so it is 0 and 1.
So we knew the b is the y-intercept. So that's our 1 for the y, 0 for the x. What is our slope? Maddie.
3/4.
-3/4. Oh, that's going to be very important when we do our graphing. Do not forget if there's a negative sign, it's a negative slope. So now I need to graph it. So I'm going to graph my y-intercept. I'm going to go to 0, 1. And now I need to do -3 over 4. So that, what does the negative tell me I have to do, Owen? Go down. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I connect it with my line. You can't just plot the points. You have to connect it with a line, not a segment. So you have to have the arrows. And on the test, if you do not have arrows, if it is not a line, you will not get credit for it. It must be connected with a line. Claire?
Isn't 3/4 already getting to the slope fractions?
Yeah. So that m is the slope. So you always have the rise over the run. If you're given just a whole number, then it's a given that the run is going to be a 1. Maddie?
Would you ever go left when you're going up or down?
So if we put that negative with the rise, no, because going to the left would be a negative. So we can't have the negative going down here. If we were right here and we went up 3, we would go to the left 4 if we made it a -4 instead of a -3. I've had us practicing just making the rise negative just to be consistent so we don't get confused. The way to check that you've done it correctly is if it's a negative slope, our line always goes down. If it's a positive slope, it always goes up. So I have us practicing doing the slope going left to right just so we can stay consistent. All right, let's look at our last one. Y equals x plus 3. What would our y-intercept be? Matthew? 0, 3. What is our slope? My goodness, I don't see any numbers there. What would my slope be if there's no numbers?
0.
Damien, what do you think?
It would be 3 over 1.
So if it was 3 over 1, there would be a 3 here.
X over 1?
Can't have an x in a slope.
It would be 0, 0.
0, 0 would be 0. 0 times x is 0. Can't be 0.
Oh.
What do you think, Dominic?
1 over 1.
1 over 1. Because 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 times x is x. So if there's no number there, we know it's a 1. And to put it in that slope form, we have to do 1 over 1. What if, let's look down here. on that next page, oh, before we get there, let's finish up with this one, and then we're gonna talk about that. So, 0, 3, use my slope, up 1 over 1, draw my line. Okay? So let's look at our second page. If there's nothing in front of the x, we know it's 1 over 1. What if there's nothing after that 2x? What is my y-intercept? What would the y-intercept be, Lauren?
2.
Nope, 2 is the slope. Fiona?
0, 0.
Ah, why would it be 0, 0, Fiona? Yeah, because there's nothing there. We don't have to write plus 0, right? That doesn't change anything. But our y-intercept, x is always 0 for the y-intercept, and if our b is 0, it's 0, 0. So our y-intercept is 0, 0. What is our slope? 2 over 1, right? 2 over the 1. So I go to 0, 0. I graph that. I go up 2 over 1. I want to see you writing the y-intercept. I want to see you writing the slope and then graphing it. So it doesn't say, it says show how you check your work. Okay. So you are going to show that y-intercept, you're going to show your slope, and you're going to show that line. Graph the line. So if we look all the way down to this one, y equals x, can you figure out what the missing numbers are? I see no numbers. I just see letters. How can I find that? What do you think, Kaylin?
Well, the m would be 1.
Oh, m, yes.
1 over 1.
M would be 1 over 1
And then it would be plus 0.
plus 0. Yep. So if we're multiplying and there's no number, we know it's a 1. If we're adding or subtracting and there's no number, we know it's a 0. Lucas?
Would the intercept then be 0, 0?
Yep.
What would you see number 2 on the
This one?
Yeah. Like, what is minus?
What does minus mean?
Negative.
Negative. This one?
6.
I just did this one. So if there's no number that we're multiplying, we know it's a 1. And if there's no number that we're adding, it's the 0. Okay? What do you mean? So which one are you looking at? This one? So what would our y-intercept be for the second one? What's the x always going to be? And then our y would be negative 2.
Also, it's just like that.
Yeah. Yep. And then the slope would be negative 3 over 2, so we know we're going to go down when we graph it. So it would be 0 and negative 2, and it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. For our second page, you need to, oh my goodness, you know what? We are just going to do, we are making this a 2-pager so that the last 2 pages are a little bit different. So for today's assignment, we are doing these 9 problems on this page. So these 9 problems, I'm sorry. You must write down the y-intercept for each. You must write down the slope for each. And then you have to graph the line.
Will we do the third page tomorrow?
We're finishing this objective tomorrow, yes. If you are watching at home, I hope you are well. I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.